Thank you.
Yeah, I had a question here in the far left corner. My name is Dominique Moody with NBC Washington, and my question is really for Doug, Dailey, and Rachel. I know that Brian and Bob have talked a lot about how this was preventable, how this was something that the airlines knew about and the Army could have conducted themselves a little bit better. To know that for the past 8 months you've been having to deal with this, has it been hard to digest this information and just to hear the result of what the NTSB is continuing to try to figure out?
Dailey, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I'll answer shortly. I mean, it's nearly impossible to get your head around. I just still don't understand how something so serious had so much kind of, laxness around it through like very large agencies that are supposed to be taking care of it.
Yeah, and I think from my perspective, we sat through 3 days, 12-plus hour days in some cases of NTSB hearings where we just heard over and over all of these small decisions that were made by different people and different agencies, and we just needed a couple of them to make a slightly different decision one day at work to ensure that our family members arrived safely that day. And that was very difficult. It wasn't like, one big mistake. It was a perfect storm of, whether it was negligence or whether it was just, people, kind of having an off day or whatever the case was. That was very difficult. And I think, when it comes to, it's honestly been, I think from early on, and certainly in the hearings, it was very clear that the Army and the FAA were going to be held to account for this, but the lack of attention on the airlines has been a point of frustration for me. And I kind of, if you look at, the 15,000 plus near misses over a few years that the NTSB reported in their preliminary report, and you look at the volume of flights that American Airlines has in and out of that airport every single day, I kind of liken it to imagine you put your child on a school bus every day, and 3 times a week, the cement truck runs a stop sign and almost, crashes into the bus. After 3 years, the bus drivers start complaining and say, hey, this isn't really safe, but, the bus just keeps going as going. When that day comes where the cement truck hits your kid and your kid dies, don't you blame the bus company a little bit for the fact that they had this ongoing risk and didn't do anything about it? And that's how I feel about the airline, where, they were in a situation that they shouldn't have been in, but they have a duty to crunch numbers, look at data, and be proactive about preventing things like this from ever happening.
Appreciate you.